All right, guys, so in this video, I'm going to be going through a timeline of Ground Zero in New York City, the financial district from 2001 to the completion. Well, I guess technically they still haven't fully rebuilt the World Trade Center, most notably Two World Trade Center, or the South Tower is still not built yet. There's also another building that we're going to get into that is not built, but I'm just going to kind of go through it. I have not done one of these videos where I give kind of a timeline of how this came about, the massive project that was put into action going all the way back to 2001. And the first main thing that happened in November of 2001, about 2 months after the attacks, the Lower Manhattan Development Corporation was formed by the New York governor to oversee the rebuilding process of the World Trade Center. They were responsible for organizing competitions to select both a site plan and a memorial design. So there were two different things they wanted to do. They wanted to possibly rebuild every single World Trade Center complex building, along with somehow incorporating a memorial within the site. And there were a number of different designs. If you guys haven't seen my video on all of the different designs that were there, I don't think I have every single one, but I went over like 7 or 8 of them. Very interesting stuff, some crazy different designs that really just would have looked completely ridiculous. But in this video, I'm just going to kind of talk about the development of Ground Zero. And on May 30th of 2002, the last piece of steel was removed from Ground Zero. The cleanup process and recovery at Ground Zero took a total of 8 months, with rescue and recovery workers working 24 hours a day. The remains of all of the other buildings in the World Trade Center were demolished, and finally, by the end of May 2002, the last piece of steel was removed. Rebuilding the site could now commence. So it took them 8 months just to clean it up. And they actually had to fly workers in from different states, from different countries, because it was such a massive job and they were working round the clock. They would do long shifts. They would always have people working there day, night, whenever. And it took 8 months to clean everything up. And in February of 2003, Daniel Lipskind wins the design competition. Now, the design competition spanned many months, and you can see a lot of the different proposals. Starting in mid-2002, the LMDC hosted an open design study in order to choose the best plan for rebuilding the World Trade Center, and it was narrowed down to 7 semi-finalists who presented their ideas to the public in December of 2002. By February, the winner was announced, and the design, which included 6 new skyscrapers and a memorial and museum. In January of 2004, a separate competition was held to choose the design for the 9/11 memorial. Over 5,000 entries were received from over 60 nations, and the winner was selected shortly thereafter. And on March 13th of 2006, construction officially began on the brand new World Trade Center complex. Now, the main different designs that I can quickly talk about, you can see the first one, the pound button design. I mean, that is just crazy. That whole idea of those towers. Imagine how that would look now. It really looks like architecture from the 1970s with those big block buildings like from the Soviet era. But you can see this is kind of one of the other famous ones. This is the see-through towers, which I also think was a very bad design personally. Like the idea of see-through skyscrapers with those like metal things going through aesthetically does not look good. And then on May 23rd of 2006, 7 World Trade Center opens. After 4 years of construction, the first tower to rebuild was Tower 7. It's the shortest of the bunch, standing only 52 stories tall. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the original first bigger structure that did reopen within the World Trade Center complex, which was the Winter Garden. Now, the Winter Garden was immediately rebuilt and opened in 2002, but when it comes to the actual buildings, the first one that was built and reopened was 7 World Trade Center, and that was in 2006. So a total of 5 years before the first World Trade Center building officially opened. And on September 11th of 2011, the National September 11th Memorial opens. I'm sure everyone knows what this is with all of the fountains and all of the trees surrounding the area. I do think, based on a few of the renderings, there were originally supposed to be more trees, which would give off more of a forest feel. But either way, certainly the waterfalls, very peaceful, very nice memorial there. And on November 13th of 2013, 4 World Trade Center opened. The 4 World Trade Center was the second building to be completed. Inside is the Port Authority headquarters of New York and New Jersey. And about a year later, in 2014, the National September 11 Museum opened. And then we get to the big boy. On November 3rd of 2014, One World Trade Center opens. Also known as the Freedom Tower, One World Trade Center is the tallest building in the United States. It stands above 1,700 feet. At the very top is the One World Observatory with a beautiful 360-degree view of lower Manhattan. And that took a while to build. That is certainly the crown jewel. That is the quote-unquote rebuilt North Tower. That's what that would be. And then 2 years later, in March of 2016, the Oculus opens, which would technically be the rebuilt underground shopping mall. Now, the Oculus, you can see from the design, is partially underground, but partially above ground. Part of that, I think, is because the idea of having a shopping mall completely underground, in terms of modern architecture and modern building techniques, it's completely frowned upon. The idea of having no natural light into a giant shopping mall is just really bad, and it wouldn't be done in 2016. So they incorporated the openness feel. You can see a little window which lets in, actually there's several windows on the sides that let in natural light, and you can see the 2 floors there. That's the shopping mall. And on June 29th of 2016, Liberty Park opened. Liberty Park is an elevated park overlooking the Memorial Plaza. There's wooden benches, a small elevated space similar to an amphitheater, and an observation balcony. The total cost of construction was right around $50 million. In August of 2017, the Plaza Sphere returns to the World Trade Center, so they were able to save it. It was partially damaged, but a lot of it was still together. It was the surviving sphere sculpture. And on June 11th of 2018, 3 World Trade Center opened. While Tower 3 is not the last to be built, it is the most recent to be completed. It took 8 years to build and is the second tallest of the towers, standing just above 1,000 feet tall. And then when it comes to what's next in terms of the World Trade Center developments, obviously, you did have the St. Nicholas Greek Orthodox Church rebuilt, although I'll be honest, it looks completely different. That was completed. That was a long ordeal that took about 5 years. That finally finished in 2022. You can see right there. And then when it comes to the 2 World Trade Center, that's the big one, the South Tower. It has still not been rebuilt. There have been multiple different designs. Originally, there was a diamond design, and then that got changed to the stair-step design, and now it's back to the diamond design. There was also another design that kind of had slits in it where you could see some type of greenery. It was like this green new thing. I just think the idea of building a massive skyscraper and including greenery is such a bad look. Like the design, putting green crap on a skyscraper, it's just like putting green stuff like grass on a roof of a stadium. It does not work. It does not look good. You can do it you can definitely have great architecture and landscaping at the base of the building. And listen, that's what they should really focus on when it comes to stadiums, trying to maneuver the parking to where it's not right next to the stadium and building up a nice landscape. That's another argument for another day. But either way, guys, that is just the rebuilding of Ground Zero from 2001 to where we are today, and we're still waiting on 2 of the buildings to be rebuilt. I am not confident in 2 World Trade Center getting rebuilt. But either way, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on X. Link to that's always in the description.